Quishbilly Huddersfield Town. The most famous goal of Quishbilly's life. Is this the moment for Lee Fowler? It is. Take your place in Division 2, Huddersfield Town.
Thank you.
Ruby and Steve Simonson's boots now. He's missed. Steve Simonson clears the frame of the goal and collapses in a heap of tears. Huddersfield Town are promoted. Mustafa Schindler has a chance to write his name in Huddersfield Town legend. And he takes that chance!
Yes, hello, and yes, finally, some happiness for Huddersfield Town fans. It's the time of year that we look forward to more than Christmas. It's the international break, where we don't have to suffer the ignominy of Huddersfield Town next weekend. Welcome to episode 190 of the Andy Takes That Chance podcast. It was crap on Saturday, so get your favourite soft toy, blanket, or creature comfort, or whatever. Join us to look back at the game at Hull. Right, that's Hull boxed off, so let's move on to other things. With me, as always, it's the ground control to my major hump. It's Richard Kosi Kosmala. And back by popular demand, it's the man whose dad prefers to listen to Stephen Chicken and David Hartrick over his own son. It's Johnny Gillespie. How are you doing, Johnny?
Very well, thank you.
We'll have words with your dad again. Right, so this episode, as always, if you're developing, or if you need a stiff drink, I should say, we have the perfect sponsor for you. It is Magic Rock Brewing, and you can get 10% off all your online orders at www.magicrockbrewing.com if you use our code of AHTTC10. And it's coming up to Christmas as well, so there you go. There's some ideas for you for Christmas. And it's at Magic Rock. And one thing that's not magic was Hull 1, Huddersfield 0. So I don't really have a lot to say on this. I really don't. I said last week, didn't I, or the week before, that we seem to, Darren Moore's suffered the same or had the same epiphany that Mike Fotheringham did 12 months ago, in that this team just can't attack because it gets ripped to shreds if you push forward. So he's gone full Fothers and decided to stick 11 men behind the ball. And to be honest, I don't really see how, there's people saying how dull and defensive it is, but I don't really see how different he could have started the game, in truth, Johnny. We've got literally no one up front or no one going forward that can actually hurt anybody. It's like bringing a lemon to a knife fight, to quote the Wombats, if you like. Great song, by the way. I didn't really. I know people might say you could have maybe thrown Harrett up there or Josh Koroma, but as far as I know, Josh Koroma was just a body on the bench because he wasn't entirely fit. How would you see the setup then? Because I to be honest, I looked at it and expected it, didn't like it. I'll be honest, I didn't like a single second of Saturday, in that whole game. But I understood it, and given the 0-0 against Watford, I didn't think he would set up any other way. Did you?
No, I can understand why people look at it and think it's not really that much of an exciting of a lineup, or it's not really that much exciting of an attacking team. But like you say, what else is the guy supposed to do? The only player you think you could look at the bench and probably bring on or start, who's got a bit more impetus about him, is Diarra. But I don't know if I want to necessarily start Diarra in that situation. So that's the only player you could probably point to and try to make some form of argument. I'll probably disagree with that argument. So you'd ask yourself, you've got to run with those players that you've got on the field. That's starting 11. Could you set them up a bit differently, to a bit more attacking? You could probably push Wiles into more of maybe a central role rather than kind of as a wide cammy kind of scene to play. But even then, does it kind of really help you too much? Does it leave the field, the left side of that field, a little bit off, or the right side of the field a little bit off? So that's the thing. I don't think Darren Moore sat there thinking he's really happy with the tools he's got and the way he's applying them. But it's very much a needs-must situation. It's not giving him complete kind of carte blanche to go out and get beat, and that's that. We don't complain about it. But I question what more he could do with the quality of the players that he's got at his disposal and the players that he's got at his disposal and where they can actually play on the football field. There's probably not a lot more than to try and just contain, try and get something. We weren't in the game at any point, but at least in the first half, we were we restricted them to kind of longer shots. Do you know what I mean, they weren't getting in behind so much? We did have a couple of opportunities. Do you know what I mean, we had the Hudlin chance and the Thomas chance. The first half wasn't horrendous given the situation that we'd have. I think everyone would have rather have, do you know what I mean, the tools at Rossini's disposal than more. So it's tough. I can't say I'm sat here really happy with the situation we find ourselves in, management and players, but equally, I think you've also got to kind of withhold a bit of criticism given the situation that we're in, and what else can he really do? So I'm kind of like struggle to know what to think really. But yeah, I feel any blame attached to more from the team not being negative or not being too attacking. I think, well, I really can't see what else he could have done personnel wise or tactic wise to get more out of that team in that match and not go down 3 or 4.
Kosi, you paid to go to the game. You were in the stands. Credit to everybody that went to the game. It just felt like a really turgid, tough watch, and it's one of those, isn't it, where if you end up with 0-0, everyone's going, "Oh, that's a great point away at Hull." Is that? And there is that, isn't there? So we've obviously gone for the 0-0 or trying to nick something. It was very niggly from us. The Hull fans have called it anti-football. I struggle to put up an argument against that. It probably is. Every time we broke forward, instead of trying to break men forward, we were looking for fouls. We were looking, Robert Thomas was going down really easily at times. But that's what it was. Win set pieces and cross the ball into the box, which we didn't do a lot with. It was a tough watch on iFollow. It was probably a tough watch in the ground as well.
Yeah, let me get my gag out of the way, Matt. So I'm having a few beers near the Deep, and little did I know that the Deep would be Huddersfield Town all afternoon as well. But yeah, it's trying to find some positives. It's the first time I've ever walked to the ground. So you go past Hull Hospital, which is an incredible mural at the side that anyone who looks on my Twitter of an NHS woman with a mask. I'm trying to get some positives out here, and then there's some amazing supporters bars like the Gas Club. So I didn't have any gear it's like town colours on, so like kind of went in there and had a few pints. So there were quite a few beers that I've had under £3. So, but yeah, get the positives out of the way. Be honest, Matt, when I bought the ticket, I knew what I was signing up for, mate. I knew it'd be a backs to the wall. The Leeds game has obviously done a lot of damage psychologically, to us. Darren Moore were criticised heavily by us, really. We've been very open. So I expected it to be tight, And it was interesting, though, Matt, because it seemed to be about 1,200 fans there, and they were very supportive. And even at the end, mate, they clapped the team off. So I think now you've got your hardcore that are just going whoever the manager is, and you've got your people, social media, who's had enough for more, or the Warnock lovers that won't give more anything, and that as well. That was where the vitriol was coming, but it obviously there was. I just agree with Johnny. I just don't think we could. I just didn't see anything different, mate. To be honest with you, what we could do. Part of me wished Hull was a bit better than they are, but were they that nullified because of what we did? Let's give ourselves a bit of credit. We didn't let them play.
I think they're a good side, mate. I think they're a good side, Hull. I think they'll be in and around the. I think they'll be close. I don't think they'll be in the top 6, but I think they'll be close to it. They're a decent side, and I think it worked. What we were doing worked to a point. It's just the problem you've got is that if you play like that and then you lose, then the fans will go bananas because it's just so bad to watch, and the ends don't. And if the end doesn't justify the means, then people will quite rightly be annoyed with it because they pay money to watch it, they pay money to be entertained, and it's dull. It is dull. It's horrible. It's turgid. It's just. But this is, and I think the annoying thing is we're rerunning last season. This is where we were 12 months ago, and the club's learnt nothing in the last 12 months. We're back exactly where we were 12 months ago with Wonder Mark Fotheringham, where he had like I said, he had the same epiphany whereby he tried to play. I think it was 3-5-2, wasn't it, at Rotherham? We played Ward and Rhodes up front, and then realised that if we tried to attack, then we were crap. The back door was wide open, and we'd lose that way. So he went the same way, and it was dull, and he never got the fans back, mostly because of his personality. And Kosi, you always say Town fans need a character as manager, and I always agree with that point as well. Darren Moore's not a character, is he? When he comes across in the interviews, he's hard to warm to if he's not one of yours. West Brom loved him from being a player. I think Barnsley fans loved him. Bradford fans loved him as a player. And I've known people who've worked with him who love him. They say behind the scenes he's fantastic. He's really inspirational. He's brilliant, but he's not a media guy. And it's hard to hold that against him. It's if that's not his thing, it's not his thing. But that's the only little chink into, the only little sneak through the curtain that we get, isn't it, with Darren Moore is his press conferences. And people will think, wow, if he's that boring in a press conference, it's probably that boring in real life. And this is why his football's boring. And everybody sort of connects all these dots, don't they? And whether they're right or wrong. And if you're, like I said, I'll go back to it, if you're paying money to watch this, listen to this, you're not paying money for very long because it's just not fun, is it? It's just
I think the difference is though, Matt, is that you've got someone like Sober Thomas, who for me is working twice, 3 times as hard as under Mark Fotheringham, mate. So the players are playing for him as bad as they maybe are playing for him. There's people putting in big shits, people going down with cramp like Edmonds Green, who's, it makes me a bit.
He's so unfit, isn't he, Reg? He's so unfit.
No. To think that the spine, Matt, you've got Kyle Hildred leading the line and Edmonds Green like as a kind of almost like 2 older midfielders. It's pretty depressing, really, mate. And this is Championship football, mate. This isn't messing about in League One where you can get away with stuff. We're playing Hull. I just think if we'd have gone fire with fire, it would have been another Leeds job. I expected, even I think the trouble is later on the game. Obviously, I'll come to that tweet that I put out later on. People would have done anything different, but it's like, would you roll the dice and changed anything and gone for it and that as well? I think there's a lot of people said Warnock would have. Would he have really though? Maybe not. But I just think
Warnock plays a different style, doesn't it? Warnock realised very quickly that we can't pass a football, and we just went very long, and we just turned teams around. It was put the ball at times. It would put the ball in the corner and make teams turn and face, and then try and do things in their opposition, and we would swarm forward when the ball was sort of in and around the opposition penalty box. We don't under Darren Moore. We're very reticent to commit any bodies forward at all, and that's another reason why people are getting, let's say, offended by watching the last 2 games. But
do you think
we need a happy medium somewhere, don't we, for some games?
It's a bit hard.
Pull away, and
it's a bit of a hypothetical question. I think few people might not necessarily like it because they kind of speak like talking more realist terms than we do. But if Warnock was still in charge of Huddersfield, do you genuinely think we'd have many more points than we do right now? I don't. The reason why I asked that.
No.
Yeah, the reason why I asked
not with this injury list. It's the injury list which is.
I agree, and I'm just trying to think how you can judge more. And he's got the players he's got, and somebody might be able to do better. I don't know who. We had someone who, do you know what I mean, from pedigree and recent history of Huddersfield is probably the best we could have got. And you think how many more points Warnock would have got? You never know. Do you know what I mean? People say, well, that's a stupid question because it's not the reality of it. But if there's only 1 or 2, then you could have probably come to the conclusion that Moore's not done that bad a job, really, has he?
What we've lost, though, Johnny, is we've lost unity, haven't we? And that's the thing across the board. And Kosi's made the point there. There are players playing for him, and I agree. Sober Thomas has been great, hasn't he? Since Darren Moore came in, he's working really hard. I thought
really good.
He was probably our best player again on Saturday. He didn't do anything in terms of the attacking third, but he worked hard. He played well. The back defenders, the back 3, Ben Jackson's doing all right. At wing back, right wing.
There was one thing though, Matt, that was weird. Just to counter it, an old fan that I know through cricket and that he says I couldn't understand what Moore were on about at the end when he would. I don't know if it came across on iFollow, but Lee Nichols. We had a corner, didn't we? And Lee Nichols, he were like, shall I come, shall I not, shall I come? And Moore just blanked him. So he were a bit of a shambles. He were like, there, shall I go? They got to the halfway line. He went back, and he eventually he made the decision himself. It was such a weird incident, was that, just like, it's almost kind of, what was going on there. And then
that was with 10 seconds left, wasn't it? And,
yeah.
But that was it. It didn't seem to.
They are playing for him, but it's just, I think that Pos put a message in that group the other day. I think, I don't know if it's this kind of psychology thing, but under Warnock, he always felt he could pull something out of the fire, that hope. And I hate bagging someone for the character, Matt, because it's just, we're all different people, aren't we? You won't want a world full of me, so we won't want a world full of you or Johnny's. But,
no, definitely not me, anyway.
I just think you can get away with a bit more if you're a bit of a character, really, even if the results aren't going well. And I just think Darren Moore is just, he's getting to a stage now, Matt. I'm back kind of where bothering him, really. I don't want to watch any pre-match interviews. I didn't want to listen to his interview yesterday because I just
I
know what he's
can't,
going to say.
yeah.
And but ultimately, unlike Fotheringham, I think you can see that they're playing for him. But it's just, I just think with the Warnock, I mean, the 1,200 or so that were in that ground, Matt, they were good. They didn't have a go at him. There was no abuse like at Leeds and stuff, because I think you just left with those who town thick and thin that die. The others is like, I could maybe come back if there's something to watch, because you knew what you were buying yesterday, your ticket. You knew you were going to get served up that. But it's just exactly like you say, Matt. We're just back where we were 12 months ago. And but you speak to we do this with a lot of other teams. So I've just done something with Southampton, and their guys, like journalists, are saying, I can't believe you got Darren Moore in. And then I think the thing that's doing the rounds, Matt, as well, it's kind of the Mark Cartwright kind of quote about. In fact, I'll dig it out while you two chat. But it was almost like
It's
attacking
about
football.
Darren Moore, we brought him in for his attacking football. Yeah.
But it was something else. But again, it's just like the tools at disposal are pathetic, really, and that as well. And I think even more depressing, we've got another game against Southampton after the international break. We're going to come with all guns blazing, and again, it's just going to be another 5-4-1 job in it. And maybe we have.
Well, this is where it's going to be like till January, mate.
Yeah.
This is where it's like now till January. Although, we might get a couple of players back. I know people will roll their eyes when you say Danny Ward.
Do you think that Ipswich game was just it just seems so out of sync with anything else we've seen under Moore? What was that? Just a one-off, a fluke? Because we played great football, we were on the front foot. Did we have? Obviously, we didn't have as many injuries as them, but it just seems a anomaly, that game, mate, compared to everything else we've seen. It just seems a bit of a strange one. That
I think Darren Moore got a 1 or 2 over Ipswich last year, didn't he, with Sheffield Wednesday? So I think Darren Moore knew how to play Ipswich. So I think he was quite au fait with their team, and it was essentially press high with the two, the pace of Karoma and Bergsog. Okay, they're not 100-meter sprinters or anything, but they're relatively quick, and we just got into them, didn't we? And as soon as I think that 1 or 2 of them went off with 70 minutes and Hogg went off, that was it, wasn't it? We were out of the game, but I think he just knew what to do with Ipswich, and we did it well, and the players did it. And to be fair, that we were pretty much off the back of what were we off the back of 2 wins, 2 draws. We were unbeaten in 4 or something at that point. So the confidence was a little bit higher. And
sorry,
since
Matt,
then, it's dipping, isn't it?
Just another question as well to you guys, and that as well. And again, is it just purely because we conceded like we did yesterday, but we played no different to what we did the week before against Watford? Then we were at home. Then we were playing a team who were arguably kind of on a par, maybe a bit better than us, but and everyone were quite, not say buzzing, but they were bought into the game, bought into the result. The crowd were really good. It was almost like, good point. I can't, honestly, I've got critics in some of the WhatsApp groups, you'll all have them, and they were like, that's good, I can't knock that. That was a good point. We did exactly the same yesterday. So if that goal doesn't go in, Matt, is that exactly the same being shot out? Because there seems to be something.
This is what I said 10 minutes ago.
Purely just
this is what I said 10 minutes ago. That's what I meant 10 minutes ago. If the ends don't justify the means, then people will lose it if you play like that. But if, like I say, if we'd have got 0-0 at Hull, people would have been like, that's a brilliant point. That we'll take that all day. But you lose the game, whether it's the first minute or the last minute, people will be, you're losing in the last minute, it's a kick in the balls. And to be honest, it's a lucky goal, isn't it? I know Hull deserved to win the game. Let's be honest, Hull deserved to win that game. There's no, you can't put any argument that we deserved anything from that game. But the ball comes across, and the guy miscontrols it to Delap, doesn't he? And Delap finishes it well, but it's a miscontrol. It's probably Hull will probably argue it's a stroke of luck they deserved. So it's just one of those things. But if we get away with a 0-0 at Hull, who are trying to go for the top 6, it's a brilliant result. And I don't think anyone cares how you get it. It's just when you play like this and you lose, people will just go on a bit of a spiral downwards, because it's honestly, if you're playing like this and you're losing, it's soul crushing stuff, because you're playing without hope, you're playing without any flair, excitement, and you're just literally watching your team get battered not battered, but you're watching a team knock on your door for 90 minutes and just hiding behind your couch effectively, and it's just not what people want to watch. No one wants to watch it. Not even in Eastern Europe, where they used to play 4-5-1 every week and play like this. No one wants to watch that. And especially after I've just watched Chelsea and Man City today, I watched that and I was just like, this is light years away from what we play. It's depressing stuff. And it's only one division, but it's one division, but it's absolutely light years away. And that was I was just like, I can't remember a game ever watching us where it was 4-4, and it got me thinking, when was the last time we saw a 4-4 draw? And it's like, it's probably more recent than I imagine. But when's that?
Chef Wednesday.
I remember Derby. In the second tier. I think Oscar Goben scored, and Reece James scored from a corner. But I think that might be the last time.
In the pre-match press conference, Matt, I think Liam Wobsall were like saying he's trying to give comparisons. I think he's trying to like give a bit of hope to Dalmoy that when Rossini took over kind of 12 months ago, same position, the club were in the mess just above the dotted line of relegation, and look how it's shaped
money
up.
though.
But that's going to be, they've spent 5 million on one guy. We've spent 1 million on someone, and that's it. There's nothing else. I can buy into all that and think, yeah, it'd be great 12 months later, but
the biggest crime with that Philogene. The biggest crime with that Philogene is that they don't sing Michael Jackson and they sing that. Absolutely criminal, Hull fans. Get Michael Jackson belted out with Philogene. But look, Hull spent a lot of money last year, spent a lot of money this year. We don't spend money. We don't look like we're going to spend money or big money anyway. We might spend a few $100,000 here and there, maybe. And maybe if we spend it smartly, that's fine. But yeah, I'm not sure we've got the luxury of spending our way out of this, is where I'm trying to go with that. When we desperately need 5 or 6 first team players, we've got 5 or 6 decent first team players who would get in a lot of teams. I think, you look at Helic, Radonian, Lee Nichols, and maybe a couple of others who get in quite a few teams. But attacking wise, it's it's really, really, really poor, and we've been here for windows, haven't we? I remember Lee Bromby saying we just need that sprinkling of stardust up front, and nothing came. Obviously, no money to spend. The January window, we're bringing in Martin Wagon and what have you, and Florian Camberi, Kosi's favourite, and then this window again, we've failed again. It's just a constant grinding down of Town fans, and there's a lot of people sort of will say, I'd kill for my team to be in the second tier. It's brilliant. And it is great in the second tier, but when I think there was somebody calculated Huddersfield Town were in the bottom 6 for most games lost over the last 5 years or something, and that just slowly grinds away at you, doesn't it? The defeats and the poorness of it, and it's just you just sort of get a bit fed up, don't you? I don't blame any Town fan that we've got no academy, we've got no proper academy, players coming through. We've got maybe one in Tom Yapenda. But there's nothing really where you can look to the future and go, yeah, this is going to be, we're going to have this, we're going to have that. Because to be honest, Kevin Nagel and co haven't really said, they've said bits, but they haven't really done anything yet, or not really had time to do anything yet, let's be honest. But, in January, we need something whereby we can hang our hat. We need a player we can say, I want to go watch him this weekend. And we just need something to get excited about, because at the minute it just feels like a death spiral, doesn't it? The football club, and
I think the other thing is, like, it's so hard to know. It's so hard to know who to kind of blame or direct your frustration, anger at.
Oh, I know who I'd blame. I know who I'd blame, but I'm not going to go into that.
Yeah, I guess who's there now. So like you've got the board. Well, they're still relatively new. I know they've had a window to do things with, but I think it's a fair enough excuse to say judges in a year and a half. I think that's not unfair for them to say, depending on what happens in January, depending on what happens next summer. You've got a manager who's still relatively new, and we've just said he's got a poor squad, and we wouldn't necessarily know what else to do with it. So can you actually blame him? Or you've got the players, but then we've equally said the players they're trying. We've not got a situation like we had last season or the season before, or when coming out of the Premier League, you've got players who are just turning up, getting paid and walking off and not caring for the club, because they are doing. So it's almost like, but the situation is still dreadful. So I think that's where I struggle a little bit, is where do you kind of like direct your frustrations to? Or do you direct frustrations to people who no longer got ability to run or make decisions for the football club?
Latter for me, but I mean, you can't. I mean, a lot of people, when they come in, they make a bit of a splash immediately. I mean, you look at where they came from, Kevin Nagel and Jake Edwards and Mark Cartwright. They came in or were alerted to Huddersfield Town when we were not pasting, but when we were winning games under Neil Warnock end of last season. Anybody could be forgiven for starting at that point and going, they shit out these lot, they're really good, it's a decent side, this. And then getting to the end of the window and just going, we just need to roll this on a little bit while we get our feet under the table. And really, it's a house of cards, isn't it? One injury and it's all starting to fall underneath. And what went wrong really is that they got rid of 20 odd, close to 30 if you count the B teamers and stuff, players, and replaced them with 4. And last year, anybody would have told you this time last year what happened was players got injured, and Mark Fotheringham had a better squad than what Darren Moore's got. This is why I struggle to completely blame Darren Moore for a lot of this. Mark Fotheringham had a better squad. He had more players to pick from. And then now we're absolutely grinding at the bare bones now. It's just... And
the bench, can you believe it, Matt? Can you read this bench out? It's unbelievable, isn't it?
Well, we couldn't even name a full one last week.
No.
So,
how fit Kuroma must have been for not to get on? I bet we're talking 25% or something, aren't we?
I don't think he would have been. I think he's. To be honest, I don't know this for a fact, but I presume he was just a body to fill a bench because we couldn't fill it otherwise.
We did say this before the start of the season, Matt. We were worried about that. These big
we said it. I know we said it. We said it. And
but really
Kevin Nagel had that argument.
Yeah.
Kevin Nagel had that argument with Poz on Twitter, the famous "Not Now Ginger," which is brilliant. We use that as a meme. We use that as a meme against Pozzer all the time in our WhatsApp group. But and he said, look, this squad's decent. It just needs a winning mentality, and you can't develop a winning mentality when you're losing every week and you're defending for your lives. It's just not possible. It's not joined up. This is 5-6 years of underinvestment since the second season of the Premier League, which is really coming home to bite us now, because it's just the situation where we find ourselves in. People have, like I said last week, people have kicked the can of investment down the road for years at this football club. And I know investment means spending your own money, and it's easy to spend someone else's money. Yeah, I do get it. It's really easy. And fair enough, if someone hasn't got money they can't spend, then they can't spend it. If someone doesn't want to spend any money anymore, then they don't want to. And that's just the situation. And part of me is frustrated that we find ourselves in this situation, despite selling Billing for 18 million and all that stuff that we ended up with, Reece Brown to replace him 5 years ago. And that it's just a catastrophe, a catalogue of issues such as that from years ago. And we just, when we got promoted to the Premier League, we just didn't have the staff in place. We said it at the time before we started the podcast. We didn't have the squad, we didn't have the staff to get promoted to the Premier League. It's just, and it's just killed us off, hasn't it? Really, the whole Premier League thing, and then Dean selling. It's just really sort of ended up where we are, and it's a depressing fall. But at some point you've got to bottom out and work your way back up, and that's what we're looking at now. Kevin Nagel's got it. Hopefully, this is a bottoming out process. In January, we can start to rise back up again, because the longer we start being miserable on this podcast, the more people are going to start switching off at this point.
Yeah.
So let's try and lift it back up.
The biggest positive for us is that league table, mate, because amazingly, we're 4 points ahead of safety. They're still above us. Plymouth and Coventry can't get away there. It's bad. I think there seems to be a real gap. I mean, Dave and Steve mentioned it on their podcast the other day, but it just feels even more than ever that, say Southampton, Leeds and Leicester, it's just like in another stratosphere, isn't there? And I think...
Oh, yeah. The gap between the two divisions now is just ridiculous, isn't it? It's just...
So, I mean, one or two people are pointing out to me, Matt, that's like, we treated all like Real Madrid or what have you, but... And I can kind of see where they're coming from a little bit. But they're the Richters, mate. If we'd have gone open as we had against Leeds, we'd have...
Look at that three they've got. They've got Liam Delap up front, who's on loan from Man City, who's thought of as one of the heir apparent to Harry Kane in a couple of years. He's very highly rated. Is Delap. They've got Jean-Michel Seri in midfield, who's Premier League player really. They've got Tufan, an international. They've got Jadon Philogene, who they sing a shit song about and really should change that. He plays for England under 21s. They spent £5 million on him. They've got Aaron Connolly off the bench. They've got Ruben Vinagre, who played Premier League for Wolves. They've got all sorts there. They've got a far better team than people are giving them credit for. It's a good team, is what Hull have got. And even in defence, with Jacob Greaves, the defender, he's rated at like 10 million by Hull. He's come through the Hull Academy. It's a good team. It really is a good team. Scott Twine, he's not quite hit the heights yet, but he's a good player as well. Burnley signed him last year. Honestly, it's a really good team. We'll be pushing the top 6. You have to give them respect. It's a good side and a good manager. I really like Liam Rosenior as well. So I think if I was a Hull fan, I'd be absolutely over the moon at the minute. And
I do that podcast with the Yorkshire fans guys on Thursday, and their guy, he won't show at the start of the season if they were playoff quality, but he's seen enough already to think that they're going to have a good go at it this year and that as well. But it's just like, to me, Matt, I just kind of think who's going to hurt you. Sorba Thomas is our, best asset really, but people are doubling up on him. I mean, he was getting kicked all over the place yesterday and that as well.
Yeah,
but what I liked is attitude.
He's a crosser.
Yeah, his attitude was good though, mate. He kept coming back up for more. I think the fans are kind of warming to him again, and we know the window's the crux for us. But do you think, Matt, it's going to be an hard sell? Do you think?
Yeah,
if you're,
I do.
Yeah,
I do. This is the point I was making in August as well. If you need to get the players in now, you can't be crap for 4 months because people won't want to sign for you if you're bottom three. A lot of players will say, no, I'm not signing up for a relegation scrap. Whereas at the start of the season, then it's a lot different, isn't it? It's different. It will alter the perception of Huddersfield Town to players coming in. So this is why it's so important for us to try and keep our head above water until January. Because if we're bottom by 5-6 points, I don't think we will be. But if we are, that's much harder sell them in 5-6 points above the relegation zone. It's just
Johnny, do you think that not just for transfer business, but how psychologically damaging will it be if we drop into that bottom three by January as well? Because people are saying, I mean, I've looked at the December fixtures. To be fair, they looked a bit more brighter, but I just think it's all of a sudden then, with Southampton, we don't know, but Preston, that all of a sudden, I think we were saying how bad they were. Preston, they're about fifth now, aren't they? They're back in there, so it's kind of crunch time. We've got to like chisel stuff out, but it's just you just can't expect anything next. Swansea, Southampton, Sunderland, you can't see anything but any defeats.
So we're in it. You can't just say, we'll just sign a couple of players in or a few players in January, early in January, and it'll be fine because you've got to kind of every player that Town will be after. Other teams will also be after. You'd hope they're going to have a certain choice to make. And if you're looking at a team who I don't know, similar to Town, like Millwall, kind of like mid-table, go towards the higher, certainly higher than us towards lower mid-table. You think, well, can you go there? A bit of an easier situation. You think the dressing room might be a bit nicer than it is at Town because it's a struggle. Then it might generally be harder to attract players. I think if we can stay in touch, it's only going to help us in all ways. Do you know what I mean? For the second half of the season, I do look at the fixtures we've got coming before Christmas, and they are tough. But then every game in the Championship is tough. There's a few there you probably highlight and pick out and say where we probably can get points. We can get a couple of wins and a draw. Luckily, teams below us seem equally as bad. And there's, like you say, there are teams like Plymouth who are sinking. But yeah, it's a very good point. And if you're looking to kind of hang your hat on, signing a few players in January, and suddenly they move towards the end of the window because they want to have a look around and see who else is available to them by way of a club, and then you scrap around and you miss out on one or two. And that was the entire season hung on getting those players in. It doesn't happen. Like we saw in the summer, it's a gamble, and it is a worry. So it's not just where we are on the table from a points perspective and staying in the division. It's also be able to get people signed up quickly and get them playing and get them in games in January, not just waiting to in the January and February. But I think any player, I think you do probably look a little bit further than where the team is, and if you kind of come with a few more, you probably think, all right, well, you can be the player to turn them around. But for us, we need to be signing experienced Championship players who want to come and be attracted to the football club. If we're sat 6 points adrift, looking like it's doomed, clearly issues with the dressing room, fans aren't going, manager might be sacked by then. It's not an attractive proposition for anyone looking to come into, and they've got a choice to go elsewhere.
You see, you mentioned that unity though thing, Matt. I bring that Paul in that part earlier on, but I was pissed off a bit with Daramo yesterday again for going down the tunnel. I could maybe half understand it against Leeds because we're getting some vitriol stood in, but I just can't have that. We've come over there, we've supported, cost of living. The team, honestly, team to a man came over. They were absolutely shattered. Sobber could barely get up off the floor, mate, and give us a good hand. But for the leader just to piss off down the tunnel after the game, it's just not on. And I just can't have it. And, I put a poll out there thinking, am I just like sounding off, just because a bit of anger of the defeat? But to be fair, 74% of people says, it's wrong that, a bit out of order. 26% couldn't care less on that as well. But, and that for me, that I just think at a time where, Moore needs all the friends he can get and that as well. To me, that should be just standard fare, even if he's not coming all the way over to the fans, Matt. Just come over on some of the pitch and at least clap, just to do a Simeone and to piss him down. So I just can't have it. And it's just little things like that just kind of turning me off, Matt. And it's interesting, some Wednesdayites come on there and that as well. So that's quite surprised me because You know, when he were at Hillsborough, he did that all the time and stuff like that as well. So it's really weird. You know, if you're going to show leadership, mate, I think you've just got to be bigger than that. When I think of Fotheringham and that infamous night at Blackpool, the last game when he got sacked, Jesus, he came right over, and to be fair, the abuse Mitchell as bad as I've ever known, and he kind of, but he still kept coming.
The players after that.
Yeah, he took it round and then he turned it out. But mate, he used to get as much as once. I used to admire his stubbornness, you know, because we were so bad, weren't we, under him? But he kept coming over and he kept clapping and he would get effing and jeffing. But I'm sorry, mate, as a leader, you've got to come across. I just thought he would have poor luck, mate, yesterday with the group gone over, and he's not there. And so a few people said that's not what he does, but you know, and don't get me wrong, it might not be like a Wagner bit where he's going all four corners and
you know, at least like wave, can't you? And
yeah, it's at least like short. But the trouble is, it's little things like that are just turning people off, and that as well. There's people putting, you know, just like just lack of leadership. To be fair, someone's put here. To be fair, they've gone over. They got both barrels from the support, but so just avoiding a flashpoint. But it isn't the actions of the club united and in it together. The chairman not on here anymore was always going to happen after a few months, even when it's going good, it's toxic. And you know, someone else put the bare minimum. I really expect. I don't give a shit what he thinks privately about the fan base, but these little things add up to form the general apathy at our club. The disconnect with the supporters at the moment. Someone's put even Fotheringham mentioned it as well. Out of order feels a bit strong, but it's poor form. Don't mind as long as don't mind as long as he keeps running. Doesn't look back on, he stops stranding his CV. And people, yeah, it should be a given. People spend their time and money to follow the team, so acknowledging that should be the bare minimum. Not first time he's done it either. So I just think you've got to give yourself. We're disappointed because at last minute goal. There's no one disappointed in the fans, the players, but you can't. I just don't think you can do that, mate. And so I just wanted to do it as a poll, just to see whether I just like, you know. If
I'm never overly fussed for these things, but I think whoever it said about the unity thing again, it's, you know, it's an easy win, isn't it, to get fans on side to go over and just be human and say thank you, even if you've lost. It's just an easy thing to get a couple of people on side, and it's just, you know, it's shooting himself in the foot really by just storming off, I guess. I understand why he stormed off against Leeds after some of the songs, and I don't blame him for that. But you know, when the crowd's been pretty good as they were at Hull, the least you can do is sort of like thumbs up, wave, thanks, sorry, we're off now. It's not hard to do.
No, I do think. I mean, I said it on radio. I honestly do think, and you've agreed with me that, like earlier on about. I just think Huddersfield fans need a character. I think even
like leaders, they're like accountable leaders, don't they?
Yeah, I know Neil Warnock. It's a dying breed. There's no Neil Warnock's knocking about.
Jacko was like that.
Yeah,
Wagner was like that.
Yeah. Because even in defeat, you can get away with stuff, and you can go on bad runs. But people will still give a bit of credit.
Fotheringham was a character, though. To be fair, wasn't he? He was just the wrong type. But
but you did
like Dean Hoyle, people like Sean Jarvis. You know, all the people that are popular at Huddersfield tend to be the ones who stick their head above the parapet and talk to, you know, and just be human and talk to fans. And it's easy for, you know, it's easy. It goes a long way in Huddersfield. It's just the way it is. But I think we've talked too long, haven't we, mate? We need to roll in a couple of our features.
Just to close it, mate, I was kind of walking back into all thinking, I'm making a big deal out of it, just the anger and the disappointment with the game. But I've woke up today and think, no, mate, that's just like the minimum we expect from a leader. Even Mick Buxton probably declapped, but don't just piss off that tunnel, man. That's crap.
What do you reckon, John? Are you bothered by it? Are you sort of just round it up?
I think it's just one of them where if you turn around, walk over, and give a bit of a clap, you just alleviate any of this, don't you? Really? Yeah. So
it's just an easy win, isn't it?
So a few managers have clapped to fans who are. So I mean, not clapping back, let's say, to keep it clean, but it just eliminates any like talk and stuff, and it probably didn't mean anything at what we read into it. It's probably just fuming about performance, or wants to get down, or has got something to do, or might be going to the toilet. We don't know. But if you just turn around, clap, walk over, and a bit of a wave, and then walk off, it just negates anything. So I think from a PR perspective, it's just wise to do it. I don't get too upset by it equally.
You know, I'm the same as you. Right. So you've heard us lot whinging. Let's speak to someone who's happy. It's a Hull fan, and it's Ant from the Hull and Back podcast.
Yeah, so a quick one before the game. I'm actually strangely optimistic now going into a Huddersfield game, which is unusual for me because I'm used to us playing Huddersfield, and no matter how bad they're doing, still coming away with 3 points or at least a point against us. But obviously Jaden Philogene back, and I feel like he can single-handedly win you a game with a moment of magic at any time. So he was desperately missed at West Brom last week when we lost. We got about 3 or 4 injuries to key players before that game, which was a big shock to the system, I think, and the squad looked unbalanced because of it. But Tufan coming back into the side, obviously he was on fire before he got injured. We've got Tufan, Philogene, Delap, we've got a lot, Scott Twine, we've got a lot of firepower up there. So for me, it's not going to be a straightforward win. I just feel like we'll have too much quality. In the attacking sense, I do feel like Huddersfield will come here and give us a tough game. They're going to sit deep, I'd imagine, and try and hold us off, and they're the kind of games that we struggle in. So maybe time for Scott Twine to get this set-piece specialist label that we've not quite seen from him yet out in the open for us to see. But like we say, there's still that little bit of pessimism in me because it's Huddersfield, and you'll probably grab a header from a corner and win 1-0, but we're a different Hull City this year. We're only heading in one direction in the minute as a club, off the field, on the pitch. It's very positive in the minute, very constructive, and it's nice. The stadium's full again. It's great. So yeah, no, I'm going to be very optimistic to say 2-0 win Hull City today.
Yeah, so post-match thoughts. Very frustrating game from our perspective. We knew Huddersfield were going to come sit deep and make it hard for us, but I don't think we were quick enough in some of our play. We were too ponderous at times. Enjoyed passing it around the back too much and didn't ask enough questions, I don't think. I think 1-0, was quite a low scoreline based on the chances we had, but that's been our issue all season. We've been wasteful in the final third, and that was just another game like it, with the post. A couple of good saves from Huddersfield's goalkeeper, to be fair, but obviously for us in the stadium, it was just Huddersfield time wasting from the off. Little niggly fouls slowing the game. It was one of those where we had to try and take the impetus as a side, and we kind of played the way that Huddersfield wanted us to, and that added to the frustration, I think. But definitely deserve 3 points, I think. Coming late on, Delap, if you try, if you don't succeed, try again. It's another clean sheet, and it's a positive way to build on. We've got a good run of games coming up. I think we've got Swansea in there, but other than that, we've also got Rotherham and QPR and Watford. So we've got sides now that we can, try and look at building on, and getting at least 12 points at least. I would say would be the aim, 10 points minimum. But yeah, good result for us in the end.
Well, Ant's happy, even if his dog isn't in the background there. So
is that? I tell you what, though, Matt. I just feel a little bit envious, though. Like, say, as a club, I felt that yesterday, mate. They're on the up. The crowds, they've obviously priced it up right. They've exciting team, exciting young manager. Everyone seems to be on the same page, mate. And when he was saying it there, I'm a bit jealous, really, of. Obviously, if we're a year behind, if we can be like this in a year, but it just feels like we're miles away from like that at the moment. But you never know. Football can change.
Yeah, one of the first things that their owner did, they call him the Turkish Simon Cowell. Excuse me, they call him the Turkish Simon Cowell, don't they? One of the first things he did was bring in a massive Turkish airline sponsor. That's the sort of things that we need to be doing quite pronto with sponsors, isn't it? That's how you get your money up, etc. But so we also the away day log's back. We got somebody very special to do it this week. Nobody wants to do it anymore. I've got a volunteer for Millwall in the future. So if you want to do the away day log, please do it. Otherwise, this guy's going to do it.
So it's 2:20. Just walking to the stadium. My bus didn't turn up, which is bad. I've fallen off a buffet in a bar after 2 pints. That's poor. But I'm looking for a good fish and chip shop, and I've been told by a local that a fish and chip shop is absolute class. A bit further up, so hopefully we can get a few positives before the pain begins, because I don't know about anyone else, but I don't think I'm going to get anything out of the game today, but I hope this is going to bite me on the arse come 5 to 5. Fish shop update, disaster. Cash only. It's unbelievable. It's 2023, but cash only. So yeah, battered sausage and chips, that's all I had to spend. But I walked away. I wanted a fish. I was bigger than that. I walked away, mate. He walks away. Trouble is, I'm walking right towards the MKM Stadium. Shall I walk back?
God.
10 minutes to kick off. We've got Alison Cheney. Alison, what are you thinking, mate? I'm just thinking defeat.
I'm thinking it's very defensive again, and I'm hoping that we can hold that for at least an hour, and we'll see what happens.
What's your thoughts on Darren Moore, mate?
I think we need to give him a chance. We've got a lot of injuries, and I know other people's thoughts on him. But who can be better?
Good point. Score predictions?
0-2. Town.
Wow. I think she's been drinking. Up the town. Now then, half time, 0-0. I thought the Deep were that place in Hull where you brought the family for a day out, but it's the town team. We've got Boobie's son here. What do you make of first half, mate? It's better than Leeds, isn't it? At least we're not 4 down.
Oh, absolute belting. We're not 4 down, but yeah, not bad. We came out about 15 minutes, so till about 36 minutes, then came back down for a beer. Not great, but up the fucking Terriers, man.
About second half, what would you do? Would you change anything, mate? Like try and get into Hull's half or not?
Yeah, I'd try and move out of our own half for a start. You know, yeah, I'd go.
Expert analysis here at the MKM Stadium. 0-0. All Huddersfield. We're not losing though. My glasses are full, man. Of Carlin as well. Horrendous beer. Bottle of Carlin. And a burger. £10.10. Oosh. Oosh. Just walking out of the car park. Pretty disconsolate, to be honest with you. I thought, obviously the fight were there, you can't argue with that, but if you're going to play like that, you've got to see it out, haven't you? And whether it were a lucky ricochet or a nice layer from that guy, yeah, when it went in. And another defeat, and to be honest, it's a bit soul destroying now. We're just like, now we're just sitting back. We'll do the same against Southampton, I'm sure, just like sit deep, and almost feels like we're a non-league club sometimes, coming to a Championship Premier League club just to make up the numbers and see what happens. God, the great days of Wagner and when we were on the front foot, and yeah, long gone. But yeah, some really bad body language from the lads at the end, as it would be really. But for being honest, mate, who dares wins, Rodney, as the old boy used to say. And yeah, don't think we deserve to lose, but it's another defeat, another grim night, drowning our sorrows up the town.
Right, I don't know who that was doing the audio log, but he did a sterling job.
What a whopper. I don't think, what did I say then? I don't think we deserve to lose. I think what I meant it was a cruel ending, but yeah, don't think we deserve to lose. Okay.
Maybe the fans didn't deserve that, but yeah. Yeah, right. I think what we'll do is we'll dive before Kosi, you stuck a few tweets out here and there, didn't you? Just for some feedback on stuff, but we'll very briefly touch on the news that the Huddersfield Daily Examiner will no longer be having a reporter reporting on Huddersfield Town. Stephen Chicken was the only decent thing and endearing thing about the Huddersfield Examiner. He's a friend of mine, so I'm going to keep this very brief. I'll never look at the Examiner again. They can get fucked, because he was the only thing holding that thing up for me. Great guy, brilliant writer, great podcaster. He'll be back in the saddle if he chooses to in absolutely no time whatsoever, or if he decides to do something different. He's my mate. Wish him the best to whatever he does, and fuck the Examiner. There we go. Anything you guys want to say?
Yeah, I'll add some. I'm not really a huge reader, to be honest. I've never really been. I don't live anywhere nearby the Huddersfield Examiner. Never been a massive reader. Much prefer to take things in via audio. There's a great podcast that Chicken Heart should do as well, which I'd happily say I'd pay for. But Dad'll definitely pay for it. He'd probably pay for stop hours and to get there if he could.
Oh, your dad'll pay. Your dad'll sponsor it.
But yeah, but I'll just say, like, he's actually turned me around to reading articles and reading on football, and I regularly read his 5 conclusions. I regularly load up an article from Twitter to the internet, which is painful, I must say, on the Examiner, because if anyone suffers with like anything flashing images or anything like that, or anxiety. Trying to read an article on the internet with the examiner is painful, but I do persevere. If it says by Stephen Chicken, I'll watch the 5,000 adverts. I'll let the article move up and down the screen just to get the words that he's written down, because he writes in such an engaging way. It's so different to anything else I've read before. I've always read a Chicken article, so it's sad. It's sad on 2 points. It's sad the fact that we're going to lose him as an asset to him in the reporting media of the football club. It's also sad that they don't see fit to have a Huddersfield Town reporter anymore. So I question both those two things. But yeah, I've really enjoyed reading his stuff, and if he continues to report or do anything to do with Huddersfield Town, I'll definitely try and take it in.
100%.
Wow. Yeah, just so jealous that the fact that I might not have to watch Huddersfield Town again. But no, not on a serious point. If you I just remember that Neil Warnock bit at the end of last season. Remember when Warnock were praising Steve Chicken's analysis and changed, didn't he, what we were going to do on the back of
the Watford game, wasn't it? He
Yeah,
changed the team based on what Chicken said. Yeah,
brilliant.
Good.
And they
a good
got such a
feather in his
rapport.
cap for Chicken.
Yeah, honestly, it's such a huge loss, and it's sad though that we lost as radio sticks a long time ago now. 107.9. Obviously, they'd covered Huddersfield, and that was a radio station gone for the area. But this feels bigger for me, and obviously we know the other reporters. He's been the best writer that Huddersfield's had. I think the thing that I like about it is he's just done with a bit of humour as well. He's just always done with a bit of humour. I just think that's just a skill, and it's a stressful job. Let's be honest. We've been stressed out doing this podcast as Town fans. This is a guy who's had to kind of go into these press conferences when pretty much losing football every week, people getting sacked, down, people doom and gloom and stuff we've had, and it's a huge loss. And like you said, Johnny, I'd happily pay, to if the podcast as well. It's sad, and obviously when you think about him and Dave do at the end of season podcasts as well, we know kind of newspapers were declining, and I'm quite shocked yesterday before when I got my train yesterday. I was just having a look at see how much. I don't really look at newspapers now. It's incredible how much they cost. I cannot believe it. I think like £1.80 for like Daily Express or something like that, and so we're obviously going to go. But it's a big blow, and again, it's just like, who fills that void? Is it just going to be a crappy so-and-so passed to so-and-so, passed to so-and-so, passed to so-and-so, and then nick some quotes off on the website? That just seems how it all goes. But
I don't know,
yeah,
mate.
I pat my heart mate when I heard that, and he's classmate, so he'll get something else. But Huddersfield's again, we've lost so much in that town, mate, shops and what have you, and this is huge.
Yeah, look, this is me too. It's a massive loss. Like Johnny says, those 5 conclusions are just outstanding work out there. They're always good. They're always informative. They're always funny. He's never miserable in the way he writes, and there are a lot of things that people won't get, in his humor, in a lot of those articles, and they're probably not for everyone at times, but they're really good and on the beak, shall we say. But Stephen Chicken, one of the very, very best I've seen, better than, I think he's the best reporter Huddersfield Town have had when I've been reading it. And I love Mel Booth, because Mel Booth was I love the mullet and Mel. But Stephen Chicken for me, the best, the Philip of Mel Booth, yeah. But for me, Stephen Chicken, the best we've had, and I think people really miss him when he's gone. And I've always thought that. So you don't know what you've got till it's gone, as they say. But hopefully he'll stick around. But
yeah, what a crap week, Matt. We've lost that. With obviously the BT went into the stadium on Friday night and were pretty embarrassed against the mighty. What was it, Fleetwood, wasn't it? Not Markham? Or
3-0, yeah. I think it was more of an under-19s team, wasn't it, that played against Fleetwood. I think there's a little bit of youth in there, but yeah, it wasn't great, especially when you consider.
I think one of the only positive things I saw this week was the. I think EFL wide they were doing it, weren't they, like a community thing, and I saw a lot of clubs doing, similar things as well. And the again, I always touch my heartstrings when we go into the schools and. The breakfast and the players.
I mean, Darren Moore's brilliant for that, isn't he? Darren Moore. There was a really nice moment, wasn't it, where a kid had made toast for Darren Moore, and that was just a really nice, touchy moment. And that's where maybe you take the media side of Darren Moore away. That's where you see more of the person that he is. And I watched that, and I just thought, Darren Moore, a lovely bloke. He was doing all that, and that's that. The stuff like that's good, and all it takes is a clap before you walk down the tunnel, and there's easy wins. But anyone who wants to see what Darren Moore's like away from a media, although I suppose it is a bit media driven as well, isn't it? But he's a good bloke, he's Darren Moore, and I hope he does turn this around. Kosi, We've got about 5 or 6 minutes left. Just rifle us off. You stuck a couple of tweets out.
Obviously, touched on that one with the more going down the tunnel. This was really, what would you do anything different? Because luckily at work you get access to some stats, and I just sat there today. So have you seen a goal? It's like we had 3 touches in the opposition box for 98 minutes and 17 seconds. Astonishing stat.
That's why people are depressed, isn't it?
Yeah. So I just kind of put it out there because, like, obviously, we should be doing this, that, and the other. What would you do any different? And Sean Makin, stick Ellick up top and just pump the ball into the box. But I just don't know if you do that when it's 0-0.
I mean, we did that at points, didn't we? And it didn't get headers.
Anything then going into a game, just putting 10 men behind the ball for a scrap. Chris says, with what we had yesterday in the fitness levels, I'm not sure what I'd done differently. Tactically, the wing-backs could have been higher up and offered much more attacking width. I don't think they got over the halfway line. They didn't. Island Terriers were set up like we were going away to the Bernabeu. It's one thing playing on the counter, but you have to have some sort of attacking threat. Otherwise, it's inevitably that you're going to concede. We have a limited squad, which isn't Moore's fault, but his side looked beaten before kick-off. Brett Lodge had a go picking a team as well. Terrier Dave, the only thing he could do is look the slightest bit interested and bothered, look as though he was trying to do something about it. I think this is the hard thing, and obviously we've nailed him a little bit for going down the tunnel and his kind of, some of his
he ever looks unbothered. I don't think he looks unbothered.
No, I think again it's the Andy Ritchie.
I think he's just quite a cool. I think he's just quite a calm.
I'm not sure on that. Yeah. Mark said, waited far too long to make any positive changes. Hudlin is at the answer for 90 minutes versus a top 8 team. I think the thing is we know all this, don't we? But who else? If Karoma and Harrod are fit, they should have been on sooner. But like we were saying, I don't think they were anywhere near. Stevie, if it was Barnet v Arsenal, I could understand it, but it wasn't. It was Hull v Huddersfield. But like we said, Matt, I think the Southampton fans that I did that thing with tonight, they said they think the nearest thing to them, in regards to how they play and attack.
Don't disrespect Hull. I know it's not really disrespecting them, but they're a good side. Just because it's Hull doesn't mean they're not good. They are a good team.
Yeah. Andy Newbolt's nothing to do with the starting 11 for me. The issue was players went there with the mentality as if we're playing Man City away, not Hull City. A lot of similar theme in there really, and that as well. But I think if we've got more players fit, Matt, I think maybe that's some of the valid criticism. But I think just that with nothing else. But outplayed for most of the game. Huddersfield. Sorba did his best going forward, but he had no backup. Big improvement needed. Liam Noble harder to chase the ball and defend for 90 minutes than it is to have the ball. Surely keep the ball pass and move to crest space than just sitting back and defending. Sorba had no chance on his own. Hudley isn't mobile. And Dukes play our most creative player on the right, where he's played all season for starters. Karoma and Harrod on around 60 minutes, and maybe let Nichols go up in the last seconds for the corners. We had nothing to lose, and you never know. We discussed that with a bit of a strange incident, but it's I just don't know how fit they were. And was it a personal thing? It wasn't an injury, wasn't it? From what you kind of can work out.
Yeah, it was they said it was a personal issue, and he was back in training last week. I mean, I saw some people sort of suggesting that Harrod should play up front in a front three, but Keane Harrod cannot play up front by himself. I can't. I think he needs a partner because he just does not do enough outside the box. He does the least out of all our strikers. So I don't think that works. But as a two, I think Harrod, can play off someone fairly quick.
Ryan makes a good point that since Lewis O'Brien left us, this team can't string passes together. He does 100%.
I saw that, and I have to take some kind of umbrage with that because Lewis O'Brien couldn't pass a football either. That was literally the thing he was worst at. But he's right. We haven't been able to pass the ball since Aaron Monty.
Yeah, but I think what he means is kind of maybe not pass, but it's almost like he would
honestly
kind of
under Carlos Corberan. Even when we were good under Carlos Corberan, we couldn't pass a ball. It did my boxing. They were like Dwayne Holmes, Lewis O'Brien, and Sorba Thomas in midfield, and none of them could pass the ball 6 yards to a town player. It used to do my head in, but I'd love that team back now rather than
Finally, from Ben, away from home, the injuries, I can understand setting up like that, but at 60-70 minutes, you've got to be braver and earlier with the subs. You know what? Maybe Warnock might have done that, even with the limited players that we've got. Do you think he would have done that? I mean, it's all hypothetical, but would he gamble? Maybe
Warnock could have played Danny Ward up front, whether he was fit or not, wouldn't he? And probably would have played Karoma if he were fit or not. It'd have been different, but. He is a different. Like you say, he's a one-off these days, isn't he? Neil Warnock.
I think the thing was, though, Matt, just like finish on the is like they didn't. Yeah, they're like Johnny were right. I think the first half we asked a bit more questions than the second half, but I didn't feel at any point like they were really battering us, getting behind us, getting on top. So I could kind of see why, I don't know. I just think I didn't think we were gasping for air. We were going down injured and time wasting and stuff, and just one or two were out of gas, understandably, just chasing.
I think second half, you could see Hull turning the screw second half, and you could see it coming and coming and coming. Then they hit the bar, didn't they? There were a couple of occasions where Tufan got behind. I thought we were offside both times, but it started. The scat started becoming more dangerous, and then it just felt like it was, Thanos, wasn't it? It was inevitable at one point. And then the way it came is probably, like I said, it's fortunate, but they were tightening the screw. And had it not come at that moment, it might have come a couple of minutes later. I don't know.
In that promotion season, Matt, that was us, wasn't it? We didn't play right well, but we ground it out, didn't we? Like I wouldn't have like Derby or something. You remember that under Wagner?
We had the out balls though, didn't we? We had a way of getting out, and we although it took a long time for us to do that, because do you remember the Danny Ward video that we did for Christmas a couple of years ago, and it was like Danny Ward on the moon, wasn't it? Wanting a pass or an assist, because he was just stood up front, wasn't he? And there were no one near him for a long time. And then when John Russell came in, that it kind of changed, and I didn't rate John Russell at all, but his strength and calmness on the ball just added a different dimension. And we do need a passing midfielder. It's been staring us in the face for years that we need a central midfielder who can pass a ball, and it's just criminal that we've not had one for 5 years. It's just mental, and that for me is one of the things we need in January.
We've made this podcast last over an hour. I cannot believe.
I don't know. I think we should I think we should just end it now. It's been absolutely guff again, isn't it?
If you've listened to this and watched it, man, you deserve to go to heaven, mate.
Yeah.
Well, and we don't play this weekend, so it's all positive again. So everyone will be excited for Southampton at home, won't they?
Yeah. What exit intro do you want? The USA pod end? Do you want the real American, or shall we just go with the usual?
Usual.
Right. Thanks for listening, everyone. Sorry, it's depressing at the minute. It's going to be like this till Christmas. I don't know.
Stick with us.
We might do less podcast. Like I say,
don't support Bradford. They're as bad.
We're probably going to finish by the end of this season. And
tell your son to sort it out.
Trying to end the bloody podcast here. Does rogue, doesn't he, all the time? So I was just trying to say we're probably going to finish the podcast at the end of this season. But if things continue like this, we might have to do it sooner, because we can't just say the same things every week, can we? But
let's get to 200.
Anyway, let's end it.
There's a team that is dear to its followers. The colours are bright blue and white. They're a team of renown, they're the pride of the town, and the game of football is their delight. And all the while upon the field of play, thousands loudly cheer them on the way. Often you can hear them say, who can beat the town today? And then the bells will ring so merrily, and every goal shall be a memory. So town, play up and bring that cup back to Huddersfield. So town, play up and bring the cup back to Huddersfield.